talking about the Lions a little bit. We covered them on Thursday, and we'll cover them on Shane Graham's show here, Extra Points, on Thursday. I know the general mood is not as good about them here. You got Frank Ragnow coming out of retirement and then going right back into retirement very quickly. It looks like Terrion Arnold just got sent to the injured reserve. Dr. Liao, who will be on the show on Thursday, is talking about how bad Kirby Joseph's knee is. So
St. Brown,
St. Brown was not healthy. Only played the first quarter on Thanksgiving. So I would like to be positive. They survived a lot of injuries last year, but you were kind of comparing it to last year a little bit, Mike, that, there's all these injuries now kind of everywhere, but just like they had on the defense last year.
Last year, there's nobody left. Surprising that they held up as well as they did with all the, next man up really came to mean something last year with defense. But this year, they're having a harder time overcoming a lot of inexperience that they have to throw in there on that offensive line.
And it's a legitimately difficult schedule, too. Not that you want to go to schedule or injuries, but those are facters here. They've got the Cowboys coming up. That's going to be a tough game. They're suddenly red hot. They've beaten the Eagles.
All of a sudden, I was 2 games ago that Philly had them 21-0 or something.
Yeah.
Like that. And I didn't watch any more, but next day I see they won. So, and Philly's down, but they had a three-score lead on them, and they let it get away.
And they're still one of the better teams in the NFC. That's I guess if there is one promising part about the Lions' run is if they can sneak into the playoffs, it will be a harder road, but there's no definitively. There's the teams that aren't at the top aren't quite as definitive this year, I don't think.
Yep.
Because you've got the Rams, who have played very well. We don't know how Stafford's back will hold up. We don't know what the injuries will look like there, but they've got a young defense, a very experienced quarterback that we know well here. But there's no clear-cut top of the line teams in the NFC. So if they can sneak in, I could see them making a run, especially if they're remotely healthy, but that'll take a while, I think, to get there.
Yeah, they got, a little bit more than a month of regular season to go. So, they pretty much have to win out to have any kind of a shot. So we'll see. They got some tough games. They got Cowboys. Those Rams are in there, I think. The Bears.
Yeah.
I think they finish up with the Bears.
That's the last game.
Definitely riding high.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I told, we're actually going to have his brother on the show later in the show, but I told our Bears representative who does a blog, Huff on Sports, local guy, Rob Huff, I told him during the first interview about the Bears, I said, I could see this team being first or last. And he kind of laughed me off about the first part because he tries to be very objective about his own team, but they're in first here, and they're at the top, not only of the division, but basically the conference at this point in time. And they're for real. They're looking good. They've got a strong defense. He filled out a nice staff there, Ben Johnson did. So it'll be interesting to see. I'm hoping that game at the end means something, because that would be great.
That would be
cinema.
Hopefully it's not just a mop-up game that everybody's going home after.
Right. Yeah. And then it would likely mean something for the Lions, because it's trending to certainly mean something for the Bears.
Sure.
So hopefully there's something on the line for that. But since we have MLB in studio, I always like to talk Tigers and his namesake MLB, because I don't know, what would you have liked the NFL more if your initials were NFL? Is that?
I don't know. They're my initials, and I'm going to keep them. I think Major League Baseball took them from me. I never even asked. But
the original MLB in studio here.
They use those initials, but anyway, no biggie.
Well, I'm curious to get your thoughts on this, because obviously the big issue now for the off season here, we're gonna have Emily Walden on at some point in January to talk Arizona Fall League and Kevin McGonigal and some of the young guys that were there. But obviously the Skubal contract is the big discussion right now, and I'm curious where you stand on that, because I was putting together some notes before the show to talk with you about it, and I don't know why, but it occurred to me that it's reminding me a little bit of the whole situation with Miguel Cabrera in a strange way, because you had Cabrera, who came over in one of these big time trades, and that wasn't necessarily something they didn't necessarily think they're going to get this good of a return. The Marlins got what they thought was a very good return there. Cabrera worked out very well, but there was two sides to that whole Miguel Cabrera deal. the Tigers side worked out very well in the trade, and Cameron Maben and Andrew Miller and the other pieces that they got back in Florida didn't work out as well. And so you got that piece of it, but you also got the part that they then signed him to a massive contract at the end, and the team as a whole did not do much of anything during that time. And for a team that probably is destined to be lower budget, they're probably not going to ratchet it up to a Mike Ilitch level of spending. Chris Ilitch has been clearly different with his spending level. I'm just curious where you land on that. If you're more in the camp that you want to see him stay, or if you'd like to see maybe, because it'd be a good package. Again, it'd be the young guys, but it'd be a good package.
And prospects are prospects, like you said in the trade. Miguel coming over from the Marlins, you figured he was good, but you didn't know he was going to get to be that good. The other ones, they're prospects. They're supposed to be good. They might turn into something, but you let them go for a bunch of prospects. You're flipping a coin that these guys, or some of them, are going to pan out. I want them to stay. I don't think I want to see them break the bank to do it like Cabrera. I mean, like you said, the massive deal they signed him to the end of his career. The last 2 or 3 years are pretty lame, and that wasn't even a pitcher. A pitcher going into their late 30s. You're not going to get the return on him. I don't know. And I'm a firm believer, don't believe a thing you read online.
Oh, yeah.
Never. I mean, he's been gone so many times and he's staying so many times, and people, they just put that stuff up there and people buy it. They buy into it, and no. They're not talking about it. Harris and, what's his name, Greenberg? Greenberg,
I think.
Greenberg, yeah. Yeah, they're not saying a word. His agent's not saying a word. They never do. They keep that stuff in-house, and when there's something to talk about, they're going to be the ones to do it. But don't believe anything you hear right now. Don't do it.
Except on this show, except from us, but definitely not. Definitely not on the internet. No, you're right about that, because it's funny to me on all sides of this now with the internet, because I've even thought of the idea. We had a Pistons representative, Eric Vincent, on a couple weeks ago, and he was talking about one of his colleagues that he writes for a legitimate outfit called Clutch Points, and they had talked about a trade that Kendrick Perkins had teased of Anthony Davis to the Pistons. And I saw that same rumor on NBA Centel, which for those that are uninitiated, it's an X account that is a parody account. It says it in the subject line. It's got probably 1 million followers. They have believable stories that are close to the truth, but are parody, because I forget what the actual, it's like NBA Central is the actual one, and theirs is NBA Centel. But it's very hard to determine what it's, these lines are very thin. That's what I brought up to Eric, is like, hey, a legitimate source, quote unquote, brought this up with Kendrick Perkins, a guy that's supposed to be an insider and has insight into the NBA and is a pundit on a show. He brought it up, but a parody account also brought it up. So depending on which one you got it from, one of those reports is legitimate and the other one is not. Yep. And it's the same thing with the Tigers. With the Lions, you got people wanting to fire Brad Holmes at this point, which is just silly to me with a 7-5 team. I mean, Mike, you're slightly older than I am. You barely. I mean, well, if you predate the MLB, then we might have to put you even older. But I mean, you've been around for a lot of these Lions and Tigers seasons and stuff, and it's been a lot worse than this. And it's just funny that we find a way to complain and have issues with this.
Everybody is an expert. Everyone out there, you see these comments. I don't have Twitter, but I have Facebook, and the garbage that comes through after a Lions game, like the last one, it just laughable. These guys never played or coached a day in their life, but they know everything.
Exactly. And that's why we try to at least be a little bit balanced on this show. It's like, yeah, sure, we'd love to see that the Tigers we wish they would have made a run through the playoffs, but we got that great run last year. The Lions, sure, you wanted a better season than 7-5 currently after the 15-2 season, but it's tough out there, and it's still not 0-16, and I was at that 16th loss in Lambeau, so I know how that feels there. So yeah, the future can still be good, and a lot of these teams are playing pretty well.